to Life Lessons from a Neanderthal. I am your host, Gary Hickman. Now, as you can see, or if you're not seeing, if you're listening, to the left of me and to the right of me, there's no one here. I am here by myself. So my wife was supposed to join me this week, and she did not. Something came up. All right, so we'll let her slide, but she is supposed to be here next week. She promised she will be. So I'm going to give you. I will present her next week. All right, but today, unfortunately, or this week, you have me solo, and that's the way it has to be. So I apologize for that. The topic for this episode, we're on episode 3. The topic for episode 3 is secrets to a long marriage. Now, are there secrets to marriage? I don't think there's any secrets, but there's things that you have to do, and you have to work at it. And I understand that there's this myth or whatever it is that supposedly people don't understand you have to work at a marriage. I don't know how much of that's true or not, but right now the divorce rate is close to 50%. It's just shy of that, but it's close to 50%. And that's kind of sad. Well, it's really sad because I don't know if it's the people aren't putting in the work, or I don't know if maybe they're just jumping into a marriage too soon. It seems like there's I don't know, like there's a certain time limit. I'm trying to get this microphone straight. It's almost like there's a certain time limit that you have to be married or at least engaged, and I don't really get that. I don't understand that. Just kind of let things roll as they are. There's not a specific time limit on when you need to get married. Like you can't, like for instance, dating for 6 months and all of a sudden you got to get engaged. Man, let that thing marinate for a year or so, because you don't know, because you could be with somebody that's crazy and you don't even know it, and so you're gonna need to go through some life situations to find out if this person's actually nuts or not. And here's the thing: marriage is a contract. Okay. Now, hopefully, you've entered into this contract with love being the number one thing, and your love for each other. All right. But at the end of the day, if things don't work out in a marriage, well, that's when they start, they could take half of yours, half of the man's, half of the woman's, blah, blah, blah. And then, you lose your stuff to somebody that you don't really care for now. And, well, there you go. So look at it from a love aspect, but also look at it from a business aspect, because if this person turned out to be halfway nuts and you married them, now they're entitled to half your stuff. So, hey, there you go. But anyway, secrets to a long marriage. All right. So as you know, I've stated on this podcast before, my wife and I have been married for 32 years, and I think we've actually been together for 33 or 4. I can't remember how long we were engaged before we got married. Anyway, but I do remember the wedding date or anniversary date, so that's very important. So I do remember that. And just for everybody out there, it's actually February 17th. It's right around Valentine's Day. All right. So we don't really celebrate Valentine's Day. We just kind of go out, with our anniversary. All right. So let's get into it. Secrets to a long marriage. Okay. So number 1, communication. And I understand a lot of people talk about communication. They're like, I'm like, okay, I know about communication. And so here's the thing. For a speed, now see, I can understand how you may not have communication with the guy, because let's just be honest, us guys, we don't communicate much, if very well. All right. But I don't understand how women who get in a marriage can't seem to communicate, even though that they're constantly, going, like whenever we did my own podcast, I had this thing for my wife and her friends. Let me find, here we go. But anyway, so I don't understand how women, when they get into a marriage, don't seem or can't seem to communicate. Well, obviously there's a I guess we could call it an anger factor involved in there, and I think there's also some lack of validation, because a lot of times when people get into an argument, even two people that love each other, like in a marriage, there's still that lack of validation where, somebody's like, well, you're not listening to what I'm saying, or you're not really hearing what I'm saying, okay, or you're not listening. You might hear what I'm saying, but you're not really listening to what I'm saying. And and I will say, in a marriage, that's a lot of times when a guy will actually start communicating, or when he'll care. Let me just rephrase that. That's when the guy will actually care about what's going on, is when he's not being heard, okay? And he's like, look, I'm telling you what's going on, but you're just not listening. But and then the guys, clam up. So communication. Let me tell you people something. The silent treatment does not work. All it does is piss each other off even more. Now, if you got to take your 15 minutes or 20 minutes to cool down and marinate a little bit and get your head straight, that I'm all about. So, that's probably a better thing to do, is go take your time and, kind of get your head straight and get your thoughts straight, because otherwise you're like, all right, so nobody wants that, because if you get back into it or whatever, then you're just gonna be at each other's throat. And if you go too long, then it builds resentment, because then you start fuming about what that person did or what that person didn't do or what they didn't listen to. I mean, that person, your spouse. So the silent treatment does not work. I'm telling you, it just builds resentment and it turns into a pile of crap. And you've wasted however long. I don't know. I've known some people that can go almost a week with the silent treatment. Let me tell you something, people. That is not going to work. And I'm 9 times out of 10, that marriage doesn't lead to a long marriage. You might go 5 years and that sucker's done. Okay? So instead of getting mad, tell them how you feel. Like, take your 15, 20 minutes and then say, look, dude, or whatever you call your spouse, say, look, hold on. I mean, because this whole thing started because, I said this or whatever, and all I was asking was this, or all I was wanting was this. And you kind of jumped off, real quick. So just calm it down and then discuss about what's going on, and just try to say what your intentions were. Don't say, just say, look, I was trying to say this and you jumped off. That's fine. But you could say, well, you don't listen, and you did this, and you're such an ass, and I can't talk to you ever, and this, it's just like, you know what? And then everybody just kind of does that. Shuts the door, and then they're not discussing anything anymore. All right. Second piece is, and I know for some people this might be a little bit hard, because it just may be however your character is, but humor. You've got to have humor. If your marriage is one of these that it is just so stifling because everybody's so serious about everything, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to turn out well. It's not. Now, we've already discussed, in the last 2 podcasts, how immature men are. So, women, you've got to let yourself kind of get into that immaturity just a little bit. I mean, obviously it has to be at the right time, right time, right place, right environment, not during a wedding or, something else, but, when you're at home together, have a little fun with things, all right? Don't be so serious about everything. And my wife and I kind of play with each other and this, that, and the other, and kind of make fun of each other a little bit, as long as you don't mean it, obviously we don't mean it in a derogatory manner. But that's, you just got to have fun. All right. All right. Number 3. You each have to have your own space. Okay. Now that could mean many things. That can mean, like for instance, people know, I'm an author, so I got to have time to write. Or I'm also into music, so I got to have time to write music or whatever else. Or even go out with the boys every once in a while. Just don't make that a habit, like you're going out every other night, and then your wife's like, whatever. Same thing with the wife. She needs to have her space. Like my wife plays volleyball. She coaches volleyball and plays volleyball. Volleyball she really is into, and so that's her thing. And then the coaches might do practice, and then they might go out and have a drink or something and a little something to eat, and so there you go, right? And then they do tournaments on the weekends and stuff. So what's really cool about that is my wife goes and does a tournament on the weekends, and that not all weekend, but on a Saturday or maybe on a Sunday, that gives me time to sit there and write and do my thing. So then we come together and we can do stuff together. All right. So you each have to have your own space. And if you or your spouse doesn't have some kind of hobby or something else that they go and do, you need to find something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's going to breweries or something, or distilleries, and you're going to go do wine tasting or whiskey tasting or moonshine tasting or what have you. I don't know what it is, but you need to find something that you guys do on your own or with another group of friends other than your spouse, because it's very important. You can't spend 24 hours a day with them, because then you'd be like, you know what? I'm getting tired of looking at your face. All right. So each have to have your own space. Now here's the thing. Okay. Now here's the thing. So I'm also a ordained reverend. Okay. So I perform weddings. Okay. So here's the thing that I try to tell people is the person that you marry is not going to be the exact same person 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Okay? Because we all change. Doesn't mean it's going to be a completely different person. But what I'm saying is sometimes, tastes change, so the person is going to be slightly different than the person that you marry, because like I said, people change. And people don't realize this. See, here's the thing. Like, for instance, back in the day, I couldn't stand onions, but now I like, caramelized onions or this and the other, not a big deal. That's not life changing, but it, means that I've changed something, that I've changed, right? And that might have been 10, 12 years ago. So the thing about it is your wife or your husband, whatever, your spouse, let's just say spouse, they're going to change. And it's not going to be the exact same person that you married. Now, here's why that's important, okay? Because here's what defines whether or not you are marrying your significant other on if it's a deep love or if it's kind of shallow, okay? So here's the thing. So, for instance, like when you get married, let's just say when you started dating and you get married and you're kind of infatuated with that person at that point, okay? So let's just say, I don't know, like my wife's jaw sometimes clicks when she eats, okay? Now you would think, oh, that's so cute. I can just hear that clicking noise and stuff. Now, after 10 years of that, you might be like, you know what? Would you shut that thing off? Shut it up. Because I can't stay and listen to that damn clicking anymore. All right, that's not what happened. I'm just saying it can happen. So some of the things that your wife or some of the things that your spouse does then might annoy the hell out of you now. Okay, now it doesn't mean you go off or you tell them to stop it or whatever. But what it does mean is that person, you're going to change, and so is that person. Okay, things that were cute may not stay that way. So, like I said, if you've married for surface things, if you've married for just infatuation or some other shallow meeting, maybe it's just a physical attraction, you're going to find out rather quickly. And I say rather quickly. I'm saying within I'd say 5 years or so, 5 years and on, You're going to find out, because either you love that person for who they are, okay, like who they're, what the core person is, and not so much just this infatuation. Let's just say, I mean, my wife doesn't look the same way. She's still beautiful, but she doesn't look the same way when I'm married. And look at me. I sure as hell don't look the same. I used to have a head full of hair, and, you know, I wasn't all wrinkled and gray and, you know, whatever. And I'm all jacked up now. All right. But thankfully, my wife married me for, you know, for me, and not such just surface area on my looks. So here's the thing. Like I said, the person's going to change. It's not going to be a completely different person, or it's not going to be the exact same person that you married. It's not going to be a 180-degree flip, but it's going to be slightly different. Here's the thing. Here's one of the, it's not a secret, but here's one of the things that you work on in a marriage, and that is you constantly look at that, your spouse, and you find different things or different ways to love them than what you probably did before. Okay, you know, maybe the way that you know, maybe the way that like, for instance, let me just say, like, by my wife, you know, the way that she's a school teacher, the way that she interacts with kids, like, I don't like rude people. I don't like people who are assholes. Okay, that really gets on my damn nerves. And I've seen, you know, women, you know, over the way, you know, I know men can too, but I'm just saying, women I've seen with a rude, and I'm like, I would never be with her because I can't stand rude people or somebody who's an asshole. So my wife, and the way she deals with, like, her kids, you know, that she teaches, and their parents and other people, and when I see that, that is something that is really important to me, is somebody who's nice. And, you know, like, I might have a problem with somebody, but I'm not going to really, I mean, unless it gets stupid, but I'm not really going to, you know, address it, or I'm just going to like it, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I really didn't appreciate that, or that guy's kind of an asshole, or whatever it is, right? So you just kind of let it go. So it's really important to me that, you know, that my spouse is a nice person, all right? And my wife is, and that's another thing that I love about her, all right? I also, you know, like, you also like the way that she's there for our kids, right? You know, when our kids are in trouble, and luckily our kids live, well, my son lives with us still, but my daughter's moved out. But when my daughter's going through something, or this, that, and the other, my wife's there for her, okay? And I'm not saying that all parents aren't. Well, I might say that, because that's another topic of another podcast, and that's going to be the selfishness of parents nowadays, and we'll get to that. All right, at another podcast. But, you know, the way there's constantly things that I'm finding out, or I'm you know, that I'm kind of discovering, and not discovering in the sense of that she's never had it, but it's just things that, I don't know, my heart has, you know, now have focused on certain things that my wife does, or, you know, who she is, and sorry. I hit the wrong button, or hit a button that I was supposed to hit. Bad about that. But it's not that she just all of a sudden started doing things. It's stuff she's been doing, but it's just, as you go through life, there's things that you'll key on, okay, that maybe your spouse does or has been doing, but for some reason you're in a different season of your life where you're really starting to notice that, and that's just another thing that you love about your spouse. All right. You, like I said, you constantly have to find or look for things that you love about your spouse, okay? Because the things that, like I said, the things that you may have found cute, and maybe that you loved, and I'm talking about surface things, not so much, because hopefully you are marrying because you really love this woman or this man or whoever, all right? But the little surface things and stuff that you may have fallen, or that was part of the reason you fell in love with them, it just kind of was the icing on the cake, is that you're going to have to find those same things, I mean, differently in different aspects of life, but you're going to have to find those same things as you go through life. Like my wife, kind of, banging around on a piano. Well, she wanted to play her kids a song at the end of the year, so she was practicing and on the piano and stuff. And that's another reason that I love her, because she was making this effort to do something for the kids that that pleased them, and that's the kind of caring person that she is. So again, that's more of the reasons why I love her. And like I said, you find things as you just go down the road. So instead of the point of the thing is, instead of focusing on the negativity, instead of focusing on the things that you don't like or that piss you off about your spouse, look for things that you enjoy about them, right? And that's more reasons to why you fall in love with them. Like, you're constantly falling in love with them over and over again. Okay? That's the real big thing, is you will just continue, like, this 10 years, you find this is, I'm not saying there's got to be a time limit on it, but like, say with this 10 years of your life with your wife or your spouse, you find these things and you're like, oh, this is what I love about him, or this is what I love about her, right? And then you might be going to a different season of life. Now, let's just say you have kids, and maybe how your spouse interacts with your kids and stuff, and you really, like, maybe she's a really good mother, maybe he's a really good father, and it wasn't necessarily things that you didn't know. Well, you didn't know, I guess. I mean, you may have talked about it, but you really don't know that until you actually have kids and you see how, each other is around them. And that could be another thing, like, for instance, when your wife gives birth, and, she's there, mothering your child and stuff. I mean, tell you, as a husband, that really grabs you. I mean, that really affects you. And that's so special, especially when, she was pregnant and, the hemorrhoids were raging, and, she's like, and then she, stuff starts to get jacked up around the house. Now, I will admit, I did get when my wife was pregnant with my daughter, the hormones were raging a little bit, and she opened up the cabinet, and a Tupperware lid fell out, and she cleared that cabinet, and I got a 45-minute lecture on how to put Tupperware away. So sometimes you got that love has to be there, because I'm like, you know what? I ain't gonna sit here and listen to this crap. But you know what? She was emotional, and I could see that, and I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna sit here and shut up, and we're just gonna nod. We're just gonna nod our head and be like, okay, I don't think it was 45 minutes, but it was probably a good 20 minutes, where she was just like, how do you not know how to put Tupperware away? How do you not know where it doesn't fall out? It's not that hard, and you just let them go. And, I can say, at least from the husband side of things, that's, you just let it roll and let them get that out and let them punch themselves out and be done with it. All right. But again, it's so much, or there's so many different things that you can love about your spouse, and you just got to look for them, right? That's part of the work that you got to put in to a marriage, is looking for those things that maybe you didn't notice before, right? And so that's one of the big things. That's one of the big things of being married, or being in a or getting married, is that the work is going to have to come, and especially you're going to have to work on that and deal with life as it comes. So if you can't handle one or the other, if you can only handle one of those things at a time, I suggest don't get married, because you're going to have to deal with the stuff that life throws at you, and you're going to have to deal, with your spouse and stuff. Now, hopefully you guys have, spent the time and and really got to know each other and love each other, and you guys go hand in hand, and you go through all these trials, and you go through all this crap that happens in life, and you guys lean on each other, and that's how you get through it. Okay? Otherwise, you have people that just, it comes between them, and then they start use it against each other, and it just turns out to be, and then it's crazy, because the people who once loved each other so much and knew so much about each other now are at each other's throats, and that other person they know how to cut you the deepest, right? So, when it gets into argument, or they're really going in for, they're really got hatred just brewing, they know exactly where to cut you hard, and just deep, and affect you the most. And that's so that you just constantly got to find ways to love each other, and make, like I said, and then that person that you married, even though they changed, and you change with it, then your love for what you love about that person. In addition to all the deep, that person at, who that person is, at their soul, at that level, that's who you really married, okay? Not this surface stuff. And so that's the icing on the cake. As you continue to go through life with your spouse, then you change as they change, and your love changes along with it and with them, so that you're constantly looking and you're constantly finding new ways as to why that you love that other person. Instead of just saying, you know what, you again, I wake up, I go to bed and you're here, and I wake up and you're here. I got to look at your face, every damn time. I've had it. I'm tired of looking at you. Yeah. So instead of looking at the negative, look for the positive. And just like I said, just look for those other ways, or constantly find ways that you love, or the reasons why you love your spouse. And that, my friends, I think is the biggest. It's not a secret, but that's the biggest point, or the most important point that I can impart to you guys, is just that last piece. Always trying to find a new way, or new ways to love, or what you love about your spouse. Okay? Because if you're constantly looking for new ways, then the point is, you do not give the negativity and the bullshit the time or the space to enter into the relationship. All right? And just one more thing real quick. Don't be looking for other things to fill those holes or voids, or whatever that you're looking for. I've seen people have kids, because they're not getting along. They say, well, we'll have a kid, and that'll make us get along. Now you've pulled an innocent child into the middle of your bullshit. All right? That's not fair. So, or a pet. They get a pet, and then the pet just causes more rifts in the relationship. All right? You guys have got to work on yourself. It's not going to come from outside that marriage. It's going to come from inside. And you guys have to constantly work on that, and constantly look to each other and at each other for those things that you can continuously look at, and or find ways to love that other person. All right? Once you start to get where you're starting to pull away, that's when you guys got to stop. Say, okay, hold on, time out. Okay, let's just reassess. Let's reevaluate what's going on here. Okay, because we both got married for a reason, because we love each other, and we've made a commitment to one another. So let's just, before it gets stupid, and before it even gets to that point where a wedge starts being driven into between you two, let's put the brakes on and figure out what the hell's going on, and before this thing goes sideways, and then we're just so bitter, or we can't even see each other for who we are, or why we loved them. So many people just don't even they just start drifting apart, and there you go. And so many times people see it. They see it, but they still just allow it to go. It's like, I don't understand why you just allow that to go, especially when you've put your time, your love, your passions, your money, and I don't know everything's about money, but let's throw it in there. Money and everything else into this person, and you're willing to just let all that go? That's what I don't understand. And you think your life's going to be better with somebody else when that other person is going to eventually get to that point? Now, if you married for the wrong reasons, or you married too early and you didn't know who this person was, I still hope you work on it. I really do. But at least at that point, you can understand, like, I didn't know who this person was. Really, I didn't know this person was before you married. Now, you ought to be hit upside the head with the bag of quarters because you're an idiot. I mean, because you can't take this stuff lightly, all right? Because there are so many things that can be affected when you make a stupid decision like that, okay? There could be friends. There could be family. There could be an immediate family, like a child involved, all right? Excuse me. Maybe you're divorced, or maybe they had a kid before you around, they weren't married, whatever. Now that kid depends on you, or looks to you as a father, or looks to you as a mother, and now you guys are splitting, and then that kid who's never asked for anything, in this kind of bullshit, this relationship, now has lost that other parent, So again, there's things involved, and you guys have really got to take those into consideration, okay? Because sometimes it's you guys got to work on it for you, but also there's other people involved and other situations involved, other family, friends that you owe it to them too. Not just a slight part. I mean, you don't stay together because of somebody else, but there's so many reasons to work on a relationship and a marriage than just, I don't know. I'm gonna go find some hoe out there and, or a man whore over here, or some skank over here, and then all of a sudden that's just gonna fix everything. Come on, man. All right. So anyway, that's what episode number 3, coming to an end here, is Secrets to a Long Marriage. Hopefully I've imparted at least a little bit of wisdom to you as far as what to look for and during a marriage, and during a marriage, and as that marriage progresses, okay? And have the talk before you get married, okay? Have that talk. It's like, okay, we're gonna, it's gonna be tough and whatever, but we've got to find that thing, and you guys got to make that pact. It's like when shit starts to go sideways, or you start to go off the rails here, you got to like stop that train, and you just like, okay, hold on, let's reset this damn thing. Let's figure out what the hell's going on, okay? Because a lot of times you can get that train right back on the tracks if you hold it or if you just stop it when things start to get a little shaky, and say, okay, let's reevaluate. Let's see what's going on here. Hold the phone. All right. So here's to those of you that are married. I hope that you guys have a long and prosperous marriage. For those of you that are getting ready to be married, make sure you're marrying the right person for the right reasons, and that you really love that person, and it's not just something that you feel, well, we've been going out for this long, it's just something we probably need to do. Nah, don't go down that road. And for those of you who are divorced, and maybe that first marriage didn't work out. Hopefully at this point you're better equipped, and you're a little bit more savvy and smarter now as far as what needs to happen for successful marriage. And hopefully I hope that next person you find is the one, then you guys can work on that together. So that's it for me. Yep, that's it for me. Gary here from Life Lessons from Neanderthal. Gotta shorten that up, man. Like maybe just Neanderthal or something. I don't know. Neanderthal life or something. Whatever. But if you want to drop me a line, like I said, Neanderthal life.podcast, neanderthallife.podcast@gmail.com. And you know what? Next time I want to have it up here on the screen for those of you that are watching me on YouTube. So anyway, you can use that email. Drop me a line. Let me know what you think about the podcast. If there's anything that you want to talk about, even off the podcast, if you want to talk to me about something, that's fine. Or if you have a suggestion for the podcast itself, let me know, and we'll see when we can work it into the schedule. And especially if you have something that you want me and my wife to talk about when she gets on. Now, she won't be able to get on here every week, okay? But I'm going to get her more times than not. At least if I can get her like 60%, all right? That's what I'm going to try to do, all right? So that's what we got, and God bless everybody. I hope you have a long, prosperous marriage and life, and if there's anything going on, I hope you guys just take the time to stop, talk about it, and work your way through it, because believe me, life without that other person is not what it's all cracked up to be, and you're going to say, you know what, I should have fought a little bit harder for that person, all right? So God bless. Love you guys. I will see you next week, and hopefully, my wife will be here next week, and we'll see you then. So God bless, and I will see you next time. Bye.